G'day and welcome back to the 40 channel. So today we've got Andy, he's going to give us a hand and we're going to work on the starter motor. This is the original starter motor out of the 1965 fire truck. What's the fire truck's name again? You named her?
Samantha.
Samantha. Alright, so we're going to strip this down, we're going to have a look at it, clean everything up and see what it's like, and hopefully there won't be too many dramas with the starter motor. You going to give me a hand pulling it apart?
Yeah.
Alright, let's get into it. Alright, just give it a bit of a spray down with this, especially all the bolts. Right, the first thing we're going to do is going to remove the magnetic switch. Now to do that, there's only 3 bolts we need to, hopefully, only 3 bolts we need to undo. Off.
Whoa. Never ending. Longer than my hand.
Right, pull the whole back off. Okay, inside here we've got the coils, we've got all our brushes. So the brushes inside, those things rub on the end of the or the commutator. So we're going to check our brushes. Try and turn that around, check the other side of it. Here we go. Alright, now we're going to undo this 10mm nut here. There's a flathead screwdriver on the other end. Spin it over. Okay, pull that up. Right, this is pretty tricky and very frustrating. Stop the fork. There we go. We got it. So this is our fork. Slides in between these 2 bushes and the 2 springs that attaches to the end of our magnetic switch. So when you turn your key, bang, it throws it out. The comm spins and hopefully starts your car. So now we've got all that out. We've got a bit of wear on the front of the teeth here. Now I'm just going to clean all this up with a file. Our comm here is actually pretty good as far as not having any real wear in it. But we are going to clean all this up. And we're just going to dig out a little bit of the mica to get that gap just a little bit bigger and clean it all up. The next part is our back part here. Now we've got our brushes in here. I've actually pulled one of the brushes out already. There's our brush there. So Nippo Denso 5265. Now it would be great if I could find some new brushes. I've already looked and I'm struggling to find the brushes for this early motor as well. So I'm going to keep looking, see what we can find, and hopefully we can find some brushes. We're going to pull all the brushes out just for the meantime. There's a bit of corrosion and stuff here, so I've just cleaned that. I'm going to take this whole screw out. I'm going to clean up all that corrosion, because this is coming from a wire that goes from our coils right around to our brushes. So we want to make sure that we've got excellent connection between everything. So what I'm going to do is just clean all that up. Get that all back to bare metal. Pull that back, we'll clean up its connection points. Back to nice clean copper. So basically all we're going to do is just clean up everything inside here, all our connections. There's a bit of build-up of crud and grease inside here, so we're going to clean everything up just with some CO2 cleaner or contact cleaner. You can see the olive green, that's the original colour of this thing. It's a pretty cool colour. So we'll see what we can do to make that all come up nice and spick and span. So our biggest problem right now is these brushes, whether we can find some new ones or whether we can just clean these up to save these and reuse them, but we'll see how we go. Righto, with a bit of a fine brush, we're just going to clean all this up quickly to remove any of the carbon. Ideally, if I had a small lathe, I'd just chuck this in the lathe, take a really fine skim over that, and it'll bring it up like brand new. But that will defeat the purpose of what we're actually trying to do here and show you guys you can do everything in your own workshop. By all means, if you have a lathe, then go for it. Righto, so we've cleaned that up. Scratch right down inside those little grooves there. Just clean out any of that carbon build up inside those in the mica there. Righto, so I've just got this little hooked tool, and this is going to be perfect for cleaning out the mica in between our grooves on the end of our com here. Very carefully backwards and forwards. Now we've got to be careful because we don't want to slip and scratch on the top of this com. All we're just trying to do is just make that a little bit deeper so there's no joins between the copper here as well. It's going to take a bit of time, but we'll get there in the end. Right, I'm just going to get a razor blade now, and we're just going to scrape down, work our way all the way around. Again, it's not ideal. A lathe would be awesome right now. Just going to get a Scotch-Brite brad, give it our last little polish up. Now one last real quick clean in between them all, get rid of any of the rubbish that might have went in from the Scotch-Brite pad. Right, look at that. That's come up absolutely sensational. Right, the front of this throw-out gear here, just going to get a really fine file. And very carefully, without touching this shaft, I know it's going to be difficult, is we're just going to remove any of the burrs that are just on that front bit there, so when it throws out, it doesn't hit onto this nut. Now I've tried to undo this nut and I just can't succeed. It just will not come off no matter how much I try. But realistically, to try to find a new one of these right now is difficult. So we're just going to clean this front of this face up. And the best thing about all of this is we'll know the condition of all of this. So if I do end up finding one of these, it's not a big deal to pull it out and put a new one on if I can get that nut undone. Alright, next part, we want to pull this all apart so we can get to our brushes properly, and we've already started to clean this up. Now we should be able to just pull this apart, so we might just give this a bit of a tap very lightly. Perfect. So we make sure we undo that nut first, which is the one I showed you earlier. So now we can clean that up a little bit easier, kind of file over it. But more importantly is that now we can get to all our brushes and our springs. Now I've pulled that brush out. Now what I've actually done, until I can find new brushes, quickest easiest way is I've just cleaned all this up on the linisher, made it all nice and flat and square, and we'll put that back in. You can see that some of these brushes are more worn than others, but there's so much movement on these brushes, we've got a little bit of room left. So we've probably got, I will have to find new ones. We've got about 4 or 5 mil left on the smallest brush. This one here, we've got even more. So we'll just work through, clean all the brushes up, and that'll be our fix until we find new brushes, and then we'll just pull it off and put ones back on. Righto, so this is the main piece. This is connected to our coils. You can see here all the insulation started to come off, so we've got bare copper here. It's all started to come apart there. There's bare copper, and this whole end here is all bare copper as well. So what we're going to do with some cloth tape, so this is flame proof cloth tape, pretty similar to what's on here already. We're going to take this whole section off and we're going to re-tape it up. The actual insulation on it is actually just falling apart off it. So it's probably a really good thing. I'm actually going to cut all that existing, this little, you see that's, all this is now copper. There's a little bit here, a little bit at the end. Just going to cut it all off and we'll start again. This stuff's pretty cool stuff. I used it on the FJ40 build, doing all the wiring inside the engine bay there. Take our time. Right, so you want to half cover your last wrap. That's one piece done. We'll do our other little end piece here. We'll attach this, we'll pull the other wires off and do the same. Right, so those bare wires are completely insulated now. So I used the cloth tape, the same cloth tape we used on the old FJ40 build. So that's come up really neat. We've cleaned up all our contact surfaces. We've cleaned up the brushes. So they're all good to go. We can reuse them until we can find some new ones. But they're quick and easy to replace. You just pull off that back piece, unscrew them, put new ones in. In case you're wondering where Andi Grace has gone, she's done the runner. She got a much better offer. She found this a little bit boring, just pulling stuff apart, very fine detail. It is a bit frustrating, I'm going to tell you now. She's going to get lunch, she'll be back, and hopefully she'll be here to help us put it all back together. All right, Andy's come back. Thanks for lunch. Was it more fun in town with Mum?
No.
No, it's more fun here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it on her face. Anyway, all right, as you can see, I've covered all the areas up with tape, so that when we give this a paint, we only want to paint the outside. We don't want to get paint on any of the electrics or the coils or the wiring. So that's all ready to go. We'll just give that a wipe down with some wax and grease remover. Right, Andi Grace, she's got a colour match for the actual green. So that's pretty cool. So give it a bit of a spray, Andi. Righto, Andi, so we're back down on the starter motor. It's all painted, it's all dried. It looks pretty nice now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All that green. So we were able to match the original colour of the green. So we just went down to our local auto shop and they mixed up the green, which is really, really cool. Came up very nice. But what we need to do now is we need to make up a gasket just for here. Right, so all we needed to do was just go get some gasket paper, which we've done. We've cut a piece out. And what I need you to do is I'm going to get you to trace out this piece here onto that, and then we'll cut it all out, and then we've got a brand new gasket.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh? Righto, so I'll hold it down here, and you trace. Righto, Andi, what's the next step?
We're going to punch out the holes.
With what?
A punch hole.
Cool.
I don't want to hurt you. Perfect.
Righto, so now we need a hole in the centre. Now unfortunately, the biggest one we have is too small, so that's a 19 mil. We really need about 22 mil. So what do you think we can do?
Cut it after we punch it.
Righto, cut it after we punch it. So we'll give it a go. This is Andy's idea. We use a 19 mil punch the hole in it, and then we can just trim around a little bit bigger with the scissors. Is that your idea?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give it a go. We just marked out the center, put a bit of a cross on it, so it gave us an idea of a guide to work with. Righto. There you go. Hold the punch. Oh, you want me to hold it? Righto. Righto, so there's our gasket now. Now the hole's not quite big enough, so we're just going to trim around it. So if this goes wrong, can I blame you?
No.
Why?
Because you're doing it.
Oh.
Can I fix that? Oh.
Perfect.
My plan worked.
Righto, it worked. Good job, well done. Righto, so brand new gasket. That's one more piece done, so that's good, Andy, well done. Righto, now let's move on with some other bits and pieces. Righto, this is the outside shroud. Now this goes around the base of the starter motor. Now it had a like a foam rubber in it, and it had all collapsed. It started to decay and go, yeah, a bit mouldy too, eh? Yuck. So,
Wow.
brand new piece.
Compare them to me.
Compare them.
Ooh.
Now you can see that this is all nice and gold and shiny. All our new bolts are all nice and shiny and gold. This is a closed cell foam. And what we're going to do, Andy, is just going to peel the back off. Start there, and we're going to work our way all the way around nice and carefully and stick it in there. And then that'll seal that off when we go to put it all together. Righto, starter motor assembly. Now I'm not going to lie, to get this back together can be a little bit tricky, and I'm going to try to show you the best way of doing it after many attempts. I think I've finally got it figured out. Let's see if I can smash it out first go, so that you guys don't have to spend hours trying to work out how this goes together. Righto, so this is going to be tricky. I'll show you why. Because we need to sort of get this into place, this into place at the same time. Once you've got it to here, what we need to do, you've got springs. We need to pull these springs back, pop it over on place. Both at the same time. Bit of an angle. That's where it gets tricky. There we go. Once you've got that drive string stopper in place, now what we need to do, we're going to grease this up. We're going to pop it all back into place. Now we've got our housing plate. We want to line that up and put our little bolts in. Righto, we want to get this little pin over the sleeve. You can feel it grab hold of it, and you can see it moving backwards and forwards just down in a hole. I know this is all very hard to see on camera, but I'm doing my best. Turn them up finger tight. Now we get our shoulder bolt. We want to try to line that hole up, drop our shoulder bolt. Now I can already feel a nice tension spring, so I know that everything is in the right spot, everything's lined up. Now we can do everything up. Righto, now we're going to put the coils on. I'm just going to use the gasket sealant. We're going to run a small seal just around here, just to try to keep this as waterproof as possible, and try to get another 60 odd years out of it. Put it on the coil, that'll make things a bit easier. Slide on our coils. Right, now to install the end of the starter motor on. Now, a little bit of a trick. To hold all the brushes back, because they're all spring loaded and they're going to be a pain to try to get on, I just cable tied them all back, and that way they're out of the way and we can slide it straight onto place. Now we have a tiny little hole here and a little tiny dowel pin. Line them up and we're going to be spot on. Again, we're going to put a tiny bit of 8518 gasket sealant on, just to seal around that top piece. The beauty of this is it's not like a silicon-based stuff. It's a semi-flexing bond, so it's not going to stick on there like silicon. It's not going to make it hard to get it apart later on. It's going to seal and it's going to be easier to get off later on. So it's good stuff to use. And Molytac grease, put that on the end of the shaft. Righto, line our dowel pin up, stand this up, slide it on. Right, now it's sitting there, we'll cut all our cable ties, release the bushes, and then we can push it down, drop our bolts down, start tightening everything back up together. Push that down, make it seat. Now just around the back side here, we've got the inside cabling that we ran the new insulator on, and we need to screw that little nut in place. Just before we do that, put our bolts back in place. Now these have all been cleaned up and zinc plated with our new little zinc plating kit. Bit of fun to play with. Righto, now that we've got everything together, we just need to screw our contactor into place. Alright, the last thing we're to do is put on our outside weather guard. Protects the comm, protects the brushes and all the internals. Use our ID plate to line up where that bolt's going to go, and then that way it'll seal up and pull on tight. Completely been stripped down, we've replaced the seals, cleaned everything up, and given it a really good clean up. And mate, I'm super happy with it. It looks fantastic. So it's good to take a little break off the motor just for a little while, just to focus on something a little bit different. Right, Andy. So while you were out, I finished putting the starter motor all back together. Looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yep.
So I'm pretty happy with the result. It's come up sensational. So with Andy's help, we were able to strip it all down. We cleaned all the parts up. I was able to zinc plate all the other little bits and pieces to just give it that final look, and match colored it. We match colored the actual green, so it's come up absolutely beautiful, a bit like your shirt, same color. So anyway, that's it for another episode. So again, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks so much for your support. Feel free to leave a comment down below. The only thing we've got left to do this starter motor is give it a test. We've clamped the positive to the solenoid, and on the other side here, we've got we just run a test wire which goes to our ignition switch. Here's the end of the test wire. All we need to do is clip it onto this and see it fire up. Righto Andy, that's it. Starter motor is all finished. What do you think?
Looks pretty good. Looks
pretty good. Thanks heaps for your help. So that has come up absolutely sensational. We're able to match colour the actual green to it, which makes it look really, really nice. We zinc plated all the nuts, the bolts, the outside weather guard. It all came up really, really good. So I'm really happy with that. So it's good to take a little break off the motor, do some of these other little bits and pieces, and then we can get straight back onto the motor pretty much next episode. So thanks heaps for your help, Andy.
Okay.
Did a fantastic job. And guys, again, thank you so much for your support. Feel free to leave a comment, make sure you subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and until next time.
See ya. Dad,
Do
you know where my fish tank heater is?
We better go.